And welcome back to Weekly Sauce with Terry Tam and Alex Corleone. This is Weekly Sauce episode 8, where we dive into one subject per week. This week we're going to talk about the hyped fight island of the UFC 251, and we're happy to have on special guest host of Unanimous Decision podcast, Adam Caplan. Adam, how's it going, buddy?
What's going on, guys? Nice to be here.
Well, pleasure to have you, man. You had me on a couple weeks ago, and we probably talked for almost 3 hours about MMA boxing.
Yeah, that was a good time, man. Yeah, absolutely. We went all over the map in terms of combat sports.
I loved it. And then I got back. My girlfriend's like, "You've been gone for like 3 hours." I'm like, "No, it was like an hour. It felt an hour, like an hour."
Yeah, my wife said the exact same thing.
I was like, fucked up. So Alex and I differed on a few opinions of the outcomes of these decisions of the UFC 251. So I'm going to ask you straight up, what was your fight of the night? We'll talk about the main card mostly. What was your fight of the night, Adam?
Whew, my fight of the night. I'll be honest with you. The fight that had me the most excited, really getting me out of my seat, was Yuri Prochazka versus Volkan Ozdemir.
How crazy!
I thought that fight was really fucking interesting. I thought that Yuri Prochazka was giving UFC fans different looks in terms of his striking and kind of his unorthodox feints and movements.
Yeah.
And he just kept looking at that watch or holding that hand as if he broke it, and then was just throwing it straight down the pipe after. But you kind of saw, though, that his style left him a bit vulnerable. So you were really on the edge of your seat. I had a little bit of money also on Yuri, so I was a little bit excited. But that's to me what I really thought was the fight of the night. And then obviously I'll second that to Rose Namajunas and Jessica Andrade.
Okay, yeah, I guess finish of the night or whatever it was, right? Submission of the night. That was crazy.
Yeah.
So that the Prochazka fight, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. I mean, I had no idea who this guy was. I'd never heard of him.
Oh my God. Okay, good. So tell me, go on.
So I never heard of him, and I'm seeing him, and I'm like, Ozdemir. He doesn't look like. It's weird because you can tell that this guy's looking for the knockout, and I'm like, it's gonna happen. So I was waiting for it to happen the entire time because Ozdemir did not look good. Like, he looked like he was better in the boxing because Prochazka, I guess you pronounce his name that way. He was always, like you said, he was kind of like looking at the clock. Like, he was just being weird.
Yeah.
Like, something's wrong with this guy, and he's gonna fucking win. I know it.
Absolutely. He definitely let Ozdemir land a couple of shots due to his style, but it's kind of obviously part of the game plan, and we saw that it had paid off. Now, it's interesting that you don't know Yuri Prochazka. So Prochazka fought in Rizin, which has now, been, I guess, the new Pride.
Yeah.
I've watched him fight about four times now in Rizin. And, like, you have to watch this guy fight at, like, 4 or 5 in the morning. And, look, I'm reading right now who he's fought. Brandon Halsey, Muhammad Lal, Fabio Maldonado, CB Dalloway, and Volkan Ozdemir. He's one of the few guys on the international circuit who's actually fought like household names with real winning records that have UFC experience. So like this guy is actually
or something, right?
No, he's 17-4 or 18-4 now. So he has definitely enough experience in the international scene. It's just crazy that he's fought that many UFC vets, and then he actually turned down his first contract in the UFC, and because he said
more money at Rizin, yeah.
Well, not only that, he thought that he was too green, and then now it looks like he came in at the perfect fucking time.
I liked it. Alex, did you end up seeing that fight? It was the main event of the fight night.
My favorite fight?
Yeah.
I have to go with Peter Yan and Jose Aldo.
You like that fight?
That fight was brilliant. I felt that fight was emotional from the start to the end. With the way the fight started, I thought Aldo was going to win.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of had that feeling, yeah.
And then as the fight went on, Peter Yan gained more traction, more momentum, and then he eventually knocked him out. At the end, I felt like the ref
he let it go too long.
He went to go way too long. I felt like the fight was over way before that. Like, well, not way before, but I felt like a minute ago the fight was over.
At least 40 punches too long. At least.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I don't know if you noticed, Adam, but like at one point in the beginning of the fight, I think it was like the first round, where Aldo was on his back and he's kind of like he's defending him. He's putting his legs out. He's defending himself. And Peter Yan throws a punch at his ribs or his chest or something. And Aldo kind of turtles up like it hurts. And I was like, oh man, that's. But then he recovered. So I was like, okay, maybe he probably just got winded or something.
So a very interesting scenario that had happened, and I actually think that it had to do with the weight cut. I don't know why, but I just think that when I've watched Matt Brown in the past and I've watched other fighters, when they get hit in that bladder region, like, dude, these guys tend to fold. And I actually think that some of that has to do with the amount of weight that sometimes Jose Aldo has to cut. I could be wrong, but ultimately, you know, the way I look how the fight played out to compliment what Alex said, I thought like in the first 2 rounds, like Jose Aldo looked completely impressive.
Yeah.
Peter Yan took a slower approach in the first round, had his hands nice and high, and they were going at it in terms of the boxing, whereas Jose Aldo was pumping that lead hand and had phenomenal head movement. So Peter Yan wasn't really able to get his shots going in the first round like he was in the later. But fuck, man, like he still was conservative and still stole that first round. And, you know, then Aldo took over that second round. And it was just nice to see somebody in Aldo's guard. You know, and it was just a different look. Yeah. It was a different look and a different feel. And, you know, like I said on the unanimous decision, it's like Jose Aldo is one of the best 3-round bantamweight fighters out there.
Probably, yeah.
But, like, dude, Peter Yan is the young lion. And, like, in those 4th and 5th rounds, like, dude, you're seeing it. You've been seeing it since, like, John Jones and Gustafsson. Those 4 and 5 rounds, those championship rounds exist for a fucking reason.
Yeah.
And, like, that, and you're really seeing in Aldo's career how those 2 rounds are hurting him. If you look at Max Holloway versus Jose Aldo in the championship rounds is when he's getting finished.
Yeah.
So, like, dude, like at this point in his career, it's like, fuck, man. But, like, dude, we'll get to that after. But Max Holloway is fucking fading in the championship rounds, too.
Yeah, we'll talk about
that
after.
But, you know, we're getting all over the place here. Let's take our time here.
I want to be all over the place because that whole card was all over the place. All those judges were all over the place. But it was more with when it bring it back to Yan and Aldo is like I just see Aldo. Your chin is the first thing to go. Everybody says it, right? It's the most common thing that people like to say. Media guys, they say, "Oh, your chin's the first thing to go," and it's true for Aldo. Not necessarily his chin, but he's just not able to dominate like he was before. I have a theory that might be controversial, but ever since USADA came in, Aldo's been struggling, and it's one of those not struggling, but it's one of those things where. What a lot of these guys have been struggling. If you look at the list of all the guys that vanished after USADA came in, so it's tough for me to when I look at Aldo and how dominant he was before. Also, there's that whole Conor McGregor factor. Conor McGregor KOing him in 13 seconds took all his wind out of him, like emotionally, physically, mentally, everything. He was done after Conor McGregor knocked him out, and it's a shame because to me, it's either Aldo or Holloway as the best featherweight champions of all time.
Well, Jose Aldo, Alex, go ahead, man.
No, go ahead. I'll wait. Just go ahead. Just go ahead.
Okay. So Jose Aldo going 3-6 after Conor McGregor. You've definitely seen some ups and downs over those last 9 fights.
Who's he?
The three wins, I believe, have been against Moicano.
Well, he beat somebody recently.
Go ahead, Alex.
So, yeah, I was going to say Marlon Moraes, his fight against Marlon Moraes,
controversial.
Dana White was saying Aldo won that fight.
Yeah, Dana White says a lot of things, though, right? I mean, technically he didn't win.
He came out of at a press conference saying straight up Aldo won that fight.
And you know what? And I think that Dana White is a very smart guy. Obviously, he knows what he's talking about, but he also it knows how to manipulate the media. So, but either way, I thought Aldo won that fight. I'm not denying that. I thought Aldo won that fight as well. But the only thing to me is that I'm not impressed. Back to my point before, I'm not impressed with Yan. Not in that fight, I'm impressed with him. Individually, in watching him fight, I am impressed with him. But he hasn't beat anybody in the top 5 of his division.
Okay, hold on. Okay, so let me go back here. So him being 3-6, Jose Aldo. He's beaten Frankie Edgar, Jeremy Stevens, and Renato Moicano.
Okay, those are good fighters.
Keep in mind, at UFC 200, his performance against Frankie Edgar was A-class.
Stellar.
Stellar performance. He bounced back. He looked great. terms of the USADA thing and the body work, I don't know about you, man, but everybody who I was watching the fight with, social distancing, was saying he was bodied up. So I disagree with you.
He looked great.
I think that he has had moments since the McGregor loss, including even the McGregor loss, where there's been some issues in terms of how his body type looks. Yes, that I agree with.
Yeah.
But let's scale back here. In terms of the top two featherweights of the division, yeah, Max Holloway and Jose Aldo definitely go down in history as the top two featherweights. And the last thing that I'll say is I don't know how you could say that you're not impressed by Peter Yan.
I'm impressed by Peter Yan when I watch his fights. I think he's great. I think he will be a great fighter for a long time. I know you're very high on him after we spoke a couple weeks ago. So I do think he's a great fighter, and I do think that he would have deserved the championship fight. I didn't think he deserved the shot. That's all I'm saying.
That I understand.
Yeah.
Let me break it down to you here. The reason why Peter Yan is legit is first of all, before his UFC career, he was fighting at ACB.
Yeah.
Okay. Absolute Championship Berkut. Like, first of all, these are some of the baddest dudes on the planet on the international scene that isn't, the top 3 or the top 4. If you are fighting and you are not from that part of the world in terms of Russia, Siberia, Chechnya, Dagestan, blah, 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 you're going to have a really fucking hard time fighting for those promotions.
For sure, yeah.
And the bodies they are going to feed you are going to work you into a grinder.
They have a lot of money, too. They started a jiu-jitsu league as well, and they're paying guys a lot of money. So top-level guys were going because they were paying well.
Absolutely, because we could all agree that in that side of the world, that is their hockey, that is their NFL, that is their baseball. So, Peter Yan coming from ACB is absolutely a big deal. Another thing, too, is that you're looking, he fought on the Jones-Gustafsson 2 card, 232. He fought at UFC 238, Cejudo Moraes, UFC 245, Usman Covington, and now UFC 251 Fight Island. Like, they've kind of already paved the way for this guy to, get into this position.
Yeah, but I feel like they gave him guys that who's he beaten? He's beaten.
Bro, he's beaten Uriah Faber, Jimmy Rivera, John Dodson.
Jimmy Rivera is his best. I love Jimmy Rivera. Great.
I agree with you.
That was his biggest win. But Jimmy Rivera was.
Well, Jose Aldo is, but yes.
Jose Aldo, when you look at him as a bantamweight, he wasn't in the top 5. But you kind of put him in that ranking because he's such a dominant featherweight, right?
Absolutely.
I think it's only his second fight at bantamweight. So,
absolutely.
So if I look at he beat Jimmy Rivera and he killed Jimmy Rivera. Like, I mean, let's be honest here.
Yes.
And he killed Uriah Faber, an old Uriah Faber, semi-retired.
Yes.
Not to take anything away from Uriah, one of the legends, Mount Rushmore, all that shit. But when it comes to what Peter Yan did, does he deserve a championship fight over Sanhagen, Sterling, Garbrandt?
Dude, I'm sorry. Dude, I'm telling you, after the performances that we've seen out of Peter Yan lately, I'm saying yes, man. In the first round, Aldo came out with supreme boxing, and Peter Yan matched it with a calmer temperament. And then in the second and third rounds, you really saw that Jose Aldo was going into that Muay Thai stance, and Peter Yan met him into that.
Oh, for sure.
So you really saw that he stepped up to the plate. And I know that Sanhagen and Sterling have definitely stepped up to the plate too. But given what Peter Yan did against Aldo, I'm not really too upset about the decision.
I think he's deserving of winning that belt, winning the championship, because he fought in the championship. But I just getting there. I felt that he should have fought one of those 4 guys before getting that title shot. Alex.
Yes, however, the way they placed him into the fight was based on the current situation. So I'm pretty sure if Cejudo didn't retire, maybe
Yan Cejudo.
It was gonna be Yan Cejudo.
Yeah,
but I believe Moraes fought not long ago.
Moraes just lost to Cejudo was his last fight, I think. He had a title shot against Cejudo and he lost.
Exactly, he lost,
and he was winning the first round.
Cody Garbrandt just fought not long ago.
He's coming off a 3 losses.
Exactly, and Garbrandt, he lost 3 before his incredible knockouts.
Yeah.
So I think it's just the time and place, the reason why Peter Yan got his shot. I think he should have fought Aljamain Sterling for contender shots. For
I mean, the thing is, at that point,
shot.
At that point, I think what they were trying to do, and to your point, Alex, is that if Cejudo was still there, maybe they would have given Yan Sterling, because Sterling beat Sanhagen. Maybe they would have given Yan somebody else, maybe like an O'Malley or something like that. But I feel like O'Malley's not there yet, so Garbrandt is championship level. He just needs to probably win one more fight to get a shot. But I think Sterling deserved that shot before Yan did. So, but before Aldo did. So at least maybe it should have been Sterling and Yan. But I think they wanted to put Yan on this card, so they forced it. And they're like, Aldo, you're ready to go. What about you? You're a champion.
I think Dana White just wanted to stack that cards as much as possible. Exactly.
To Adam's point is that he forced him down our throats because he knows what kind of a fighter he is, how good he can be.
Absolutely. He's he's an international fighter that brings a big presence to that side of the world. The Russians are no foreigners to traveling, so just having that attraction, adding to it in terms of adding the another Russian fighter in Abu Dhabi adds appeal to it. And also they were saying that I don't know, I read this somewhere on Reddit or something. This is all alleged, but Dana White has an issue with Aljamain Sterling because of a video that he found with Matt Serra in a hotel room. Something like he was showing him how to milk a cow or something.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I don't know. I read it on Reddit, and I thought that was rather.
Stay off of Reddit, man. Like I can't. I don't know. There's too much fucked up shit over there.
Yeah, I don't know.
So Yan's the champion. We'll move on. I think he'll probably get Sterling after. That's what everybody's saying, and I think that's what happened. Unless he wants to milk a cow, and Dana White's like, no, fuck this guy. Fuck this guy. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I'm super high on Peter Yan. He's got great boxing. He's got great Muay Thai. He's got good ground and pound. He has good wrestling in terms of he knows how to transition a fighter being in his guard and hop into half guard and fucking just pound the shit out of him. So. I'm a big fan.
Good fighter.
And that, to me, was my fight of the night in terms of the 3 title fights. That's the one that impressed me the most.
I agree. Same here. So we'll go on to the next fight, the biggest controversy, I guess. Alex Volkanovski retains his belt against Max Holloway. This was a split decision. Whatever the numbers are, I can't do math in my head now. What is it? 48-47, 3 times. 2 for Volkanovski, who I found out is Greek, by the way.
He's half Greek.
No, his mom's Greek. His dad's from Macedonia, i.e. Greek. But that last name though, I can't figure it out. And then one judge gave it to Holloway. A lot of people saying Holloway. John McCarthy, who created the rules, apparently created the rules for judging, says Holloway won. I thought that it was the tightest fight I've ever seen up until the 4th round. The 4th round is you saw Volkanovski really start piecing him apart. Like you said, to your point, Adam, before, is that you saw Holloway kind of fade away in the championship rounds. Twice we saw that happen. The 3rd round is where it's kind of up in the air. But in the 3rd round, you saw Volkanovski starting with the leg kicks again a little bit differently. He started jabbing a lot more. He started putting a little bit more pressure. Where Holloway in the first 2 rounds was going forward, more combinations. Then Holloway kind of started slowing down. You can't slow down in the 3rd. If you're going to slow down, you slow down in the 5th, and you just kind of take the round off. That's why I think that Volkanovski won. I gave it to Volkanovski there, but I saw an argue for Holloway, and I bet on Holloway. I put money on Holloway.
Yeah, so remember our weekly sauce back in June where we were talking about UFC 251 Fight Island, and we were saying how Volkanovski. Well, anyways, you picked Holloway, I picked Volkanovski.
Yeah.
So the way the fight went, I was like, Holloway's dominating. The first 2 rounds, it's Holloway all the way.
I was so excited.
It's Holloway all the way.
I was pumped. I was looking at him like, fuck, this guy's gonna kill
exactly. Yeah, I was really impressed with Holloway the first 2 rounds. I'm like, hey, did he improve? Did he, watch his own tape from the previous fight, and he improved? 3rd round is the most controversial one because it can go both ways. But round 4 and 5, I'd have to give them to Volkanovski. I rewatched I rewatched those 2 rounds, the fourth and fifth. Volkanovski controlled. He landed a lot more significant punches. So third round is the one that it can go either way.
The thing
to me.
is, the third round is where everybody's kind of saying like, okay, Holloway won. Takedowns didn't mean much because he couldn't keep him down. And he didn't keep him down, and I'm not even counting those takedowns to Volk when Holloway would get up within 5 seconds. You know what I mean? So I still gave it to Volkanovski even after thinking that. Adam?
So the way I looked at it is that the first 2 rounds I felt that Max made Volkanovski look really small in the octagon, took up a lot of the space. Volkanovski really wasn't able to sit down on those leg kicks like he was in the previous fight. And I actually read an interesting tweet on Twitter from somebody I follow that did a breakdown video. And Volkanovski, every time he would take a step out with his rear foot, Holloway wouldn't circle out in the first fight. And now in the second fight, he circled out every time he would try to take a step out with the rear foot and land that lead leg kick with a little bit of power. So this time he would circle out more. So that fared to be more successful. And it really just came down to me for that third round. For me, it just came down to a classic take of hardcore fans versus casual fans looking at it and just thinking that significant damage is the only thing that matters in terms of winning a fight. And Volkanovski in the fourth and fifth round, I don't think put on the more significant damage, but made more of the points add up to win those 2 rounds. And I think that the allure in maybe the third and fourth round that people think that Holloway took is due to those few significant strikes that seem to deem to be more powerful. So that's kind of the issue here, is that a lot of the shots that Holloway landed looked like they had hurt Volkanovski a lot more than he did. And what sucks about Volk is that, like, dude, this guy landed no right hands.
Nothing.
All he did was throw his leg kicks, threw everything off his jab and long left hooks. It was actually fucking impressive how he was able to beat him with almost the entire left side of his body. And I attribute that to him actually playing it. Oh, man, I'm going to get smoked for this. Either way, the reason why he's not throwing anything off of his right side is because there's a part of him that knows he's gonna get knocked the fuck out, man. That's it. Like, he's hiding behind that. Like, for sure. But I like Volk. Fuck.
No, I mean, he knows. You have to know that Holloway's a threat at that point. You know what I mean?
Because as soon as he started opening up, he had that right uppercut with the left hook. He put him down. That was it.
There was one uppercut that Holloway missed probably by an inch, and less than. And I think if he connected, Volk's head is back home. You know what I mean? And I was watching Holloway, and I think everybody wanted Holloway to win more than anything because he's such a good guy. You know what I mean? Like, everybody, there's nobody that doesn't like Holloway. And
what he did after the fight was amazing. See, he donated his gear.
Stuff. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
he's a good guy.
Well, I mean, a lot of fighters have done that in the past, donating their gear. I think it's really great. I actually think that the coolest thing that Holloway did is that media members saying that Volk won were receiving death threats, and he basically put out a tweet being like, "Don't fucking do that."
It's also stupid. Like, I'm in a room with a bunch of Moroccan Jewish guys. Okay, that's how I watch the fights with. So all my friends are all Moroccan Jews. So you know how they're very loud. I will say this, and they're very opinionated, and they're all it's 2-2-2-2-2-2 the entire after the fourth round, and after the fight, Volkanovski clearly wins the fifth. After the fight's done, a couple of them are saying that that Holloway won. But how do you say that when Volkanovski clearly won the fifth round? And then they come back and say he won the third round. It's everybody wanted Holloway to win. I wanted Holloway to win. I could have justified it any way in my fucking head that Holloway would have won that fight.
I agree with what you're saying, but I think it goes back to what I said before in the sense that damage is the biggest allure that we watch the sport for.
Exactly.
And if we're looking at who put on the most damage and the most significant strikes, it was Max Holloway. And who had the biggest presence in the octagon? Max Holloway. And then, bro, Volkanovski looked like he was a fucking flyweight in there with Max.
It's true.
Well, the fucking size difference, there were it was almost like a fucking Mortal Kombat or wait, what's that game called? Yeah, it almost looked like a Street Fighter, like a cartoonish fight.
Almost, dude.
Yeah.
He was
The
so
fucking
long.
size difference.
Holloway looked good. I mean, I found it looked good, but then, like you said, in the 4th and 5th, he kind of slowed down. But my point is that we like what Adam's point also is that people look at the damage. Remember when GSP fought against was it Condit? And he beat Condit clearly, and Condit didn't have a scratch on him, but GSP's eyes were all fucked up, and everybody's like, "Oh, look at GSP's eyes, he lost." Like, just because somebody bruises easy doesn't mean that.
Yeah, but it was also because GSP almost got TKO'd in the 4th. He got
that head kick, and he
flipped over and blah blah blah.
Well, there's also like the big hematoma that came off his head. Remember?
Right, exactly.
You saw it grow
live.
alive.
I think if you eliminate that whole scenario, GSP dominated that performance, and I also think that it's kind of the same thing that now that you've seen McGregor lose. Now, when we saw George lose. Every time like something happens, you're kind of like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I don't really know what's gonna happen.
It's true. It's very true.
Yeah.
So I know. But another thing is that everybody like Alex, I know you're one of them. You thought the Holloway won, piggybacking off of other MMA fighters and maybe guys like John McCarthy saying when they say that Holloway won. They're not judges, right? I mean, I think that judges need to be ex-fighters. In this situation, they were not ex-fighters. A lot of times we see boxing judges judging MMA fights, which is wrong because they know nothing about the ground. And we see it often in New York where there's judges there that are boxing judges that have no idea, that don't give any points to people that know how to grapple. And I just think that the judges need to be ex-fighters. Guys like Ricardo Almeida, who's doing it, but then they put too many restrictions on him, so he said, "Fuck it, I'm not going to do it." And they need judges that have been either in the octagon or know how to fight. Guys like Robin Black probably would be the best judge.
I think Bisping should be a judge and not a commentator.
Bisping can't be a judge. He doesn't know how to remove himself from the fight.
And I don't like him as a commentator either. He's too loud. I was looking forward for Joe Rogan to be that commentator for that fight, for that event. I know that's the only fucked up part, but at least Daniel Cormier or something.
Well, I mean, it's tough to get these guys to fly to Abu Dhabi. Bisping, I guess, he was willing to do it. It all depends on who's willing to do it.
Well, what it comes down to is that I don't think that they could really. Daniel Cormier definitely can't go there due to the fight being in August 15th.
He was preparing himself for that.
Yeah, I don't think that Joe Rogan had any interest to go to Abu Dhabi.
Well, he never travels.
Well, he doesn't travel, but also I just don't think he had an interest going with probably the commentary crew that was there, and he's busy and whatever it is. And, Michael Bisping is available right now. I do think that they are going to bring other people in, maybe John Gooden or Dan Hardy or whatever it is. I do think
Dan Hardy would be nice.
Yeah, I was actually really looking forward to having Dan Hardy on. I think that DC and Bisping and sometimes Cruz, but I find DC and Bisping especially are just trying much too hard to have their voice physically heard
by the fighters.
Octagon. Yeah. And it's obnoxious and it's obvious, and I'm just simply not a fan of it. But Michael Bisping really didn't get in the way of me enjoying the evening. The only commentary that sometimes gets in the way of me enjoying the evening is Dominic Cruz, just because I find that Michael Bisping could put aside his pettiness. I just feel that Dominic Cruz, there's just a part of him that even if he puts it aside, it's like you don't fucking believe it. Whereas Michael Bisping, he's ripping Dan Henderson on the tweets at the same time, but that's why we love him, So
exactly, that's Bisping. But you're right about Cruz. As good as he is, and as great as an analyst he is, he does sometimes if he doesn't like what Joe Rogan says, he'll be like, "Well, you're wrong," he'll call him out, and it's
which I like at the same time. Joe needs a nice humble pie once in a while.
At least lately.
Yeah, well, always, man. It's just I think that everybody deserves to everybody needs to have their opinion debated and challenged.
The thing about Joe Rogan, and I love Joe Rogan, I'm a huge fan of his podcast, everything, right? I feel like the sport might have outgrown his knowledge, if that means anything. I mean, I think he knows.
So I understand what you mean in that, but I think that that's the natural thing in terms of the evolution of the sport, because you have to think about it. When you grow up in a certain era, even though you're watching other future eras and present eras, always in the back of your mind, you're like, bro, nothing better than the old days.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that that's kind of some of the issue that has to do with it. But I don't think it's so much that. I just think that it's that Joe's found so many different avenues to make his money. And, let's be real here. Yes, the allure of the atmosphere and the fans cheering and everybody going crazy is fantastic. But you know what? When you've done that over 1,001 times, you've done that 5,000 times, and then you're sitting in your studio and you get to roll a couple joints, have 6 or 7 beers, maybe do a little shrooms, order a pizza. And then get paid like $100 million in the bank from Spotify? Why the fuck wouldn't you do that instead?
Of course, the Fight Companion is probably the best thing, and I think this time I didn't watch the full Fight Companion yet. I always watch it after. I never really watch it live. I think I did it once where I watched like the last 2 fights of the card live while watching the Fight Companion. But before, when they do with Schaub and Callan and Bravo, they don't even talk about the fights. But this time they did.
So I'm looking forward to actually listening to this one. I have not been able to sit through a Joe Rogan podcast fully in probably 6 or 7 months. It takes me forever to finish a podcast.
Some of them are too long.
And they're all pretty long. But I was looking forward to Joey Diaz and Tony Hinchcliffe just because both of those guys, the problem with when they have Schaub on is that Schaub and Eddie Bravo have been so immersed in the sport that like they don't really give a fuck. And then like Brian Callen is on the edge of his seat and like he wants to know what's up, like a little puppy dog. Yeah. We love Callen though. But I find that Schaub and Bravo, like sometimes they brush over certain topics to just talk about bullshit.
Another thing about Schaub is that he has the kind of the Joe Rogan effect where they talk so much that they say the same things over and over again that sometimes they contradict themselves. You know what I mean? They try to be a little different.
Yes, that I agree with, but
Schaub
also
contradicts himself way too much.
Dude, Schaub contradicts himself because if he's saying red and then Joe says blue, he then changes his mind to whatever Joe's saying. And, that's why it was just refreshing that he had these two guys on because Tony Hinchcliffe is a huge fan of the WWE. He's worked for the WWE, did a little bit of creative writing for them. So he obviously understands a little bit of the industry because obviously the WWE and the UFC, or MMA rather, blur the lines.
And he's got that little thing with Joanna going too.
Yeah, exactly. And Joey Diaz is a fucking gamer of gamers. I mean, dude, Joey Diaz is the man. I went to Santa Monica with my wife for 4 days, and we went one night to the Comedy Store. And, dude, Joey Diaz was there. Rogan was there. Louis C.K. Fucking
I went to the Comedy Store one night. I was happy back then to have seen him, but I saw Chris D'Elia. I saw Neil Brennan. Joe Rogan was on there. I saw a bunch of guys. The Comedy Store is awesome to go.
So let me ask you.
Alex lives in California, in LA, lives an hour out.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Well, fun fact, I've been living here for so long. I still haven't been to fucking Santa Monica, which I'm planning on going there. But every time I try to go there, there's always something that comes up.
COVID.
So yeah, COVID now. But at least, but I'm looking forward. That's definitely on my bucket list. I want to go to Santa Monica
for sure. I would move there. What were you saying, Adam?
So yeah, that's basically it. I'm just happy about Joey Diaz like being on the show and being able to kind of break bread there and get that done. So I thought that was pretty cool. And referring back to the whole Max Holloway and Alex Volkanovski fight, like where do these guys go? That's where I'm wondering, because when I'm looking at the featherweight division, I'm like scratching my head. You have Zabit fighting Yair Rodriguez.
Yeah.
And then you have Calvin Kattar fighting Danny Ige, which of the two guys in those equation, obviously Calvin Kattar is the more alluring one, but Danny Ige brings a ruthless striking.
Oh, it's huge.
So, it'll be different. But, dude, you don't fuck with Calvin Kattar.
No.
You don't fuck with that guy. You better be ready to go because if your striking's not on point, he's going to take you down.
Well,
if you want to grapple with him, he'll grapple. You want to scrap, he'll scrap. Like he's one of the more well-rounded guys in the UFC.
A big Kattar guy. But then you also have Ortega. You also have
TKZ.
TKZ, exactly. The Korean Zombie.
So Ortega and TKZ want to get down.
They were supposed to, no, but then he got into a fight with his manager.
Well, they got into a fight with the manager, and then the Korean Zombie was saying, "Why don't you come to the Korea and fight me?" It's like, "Hey, dude, have you been watching the news?" And then, and what doesn't make sense is that Peter Yan flew from Thailand, so I don't see why they wouldn't be able to get the Korean Zombie to fly out to Abu Dhabi from Korea.
And it's South Korea. South Korea is fine.
Absolutely, and I think that they could also get Ortega out there for sure. I don't know. Like, for me, I'm looking at it and I'm like, really? You guys want to do the winner of Ortega and Korean Zombie to fight for the featherweight belt in Volkanovski? Like, why the hell wouldn't you guys want to wait to see what happens with Zabit?
Zabit, yeah, exactly.
Like, dude, why wouldn't you just let Zabit win and then have him fight in Abu Dhabi? Like, do you guys not like to make money? Like, are you crazy?
The hormone monster.
Zabit, do you think that any of the guys that we saw at UFC 251 will fight again in Fight Island?
That's a good question. I mean, I feel like Fight Island's here to stay. Because some of the ownership from UFC are got some guys from Abu Dhabi, so they might want to keep it there.
That's true. I don't know about you guys, but it kind of felt like the allure of fighting on the Fight Island is that it almost felt like it was separate from the rest of everybody's career. Like, even if you lost there, it was like, who gives? Like, what happens? It was like watching Dragon Ball Z. It was like one of the side grand tournaments that all the characters got invited to. It's like, who cares if you got eliminated first round? Like, we're just happy to be here.
That's it, exactly. I feel the same way. I mean, I loved it, and I hope it's here to stay. And like you said, yeah, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, what happens here stays here, but it doesn't really affect your score.
So are we saying Zabit would be typically the next one in line, or
I think with one more win, he's the contender, number one contender.
Exactly.
Is that going to happen in Fight Island?
I mean, Fight Island's here to stay, so I don't know. It can happen.
But when is the date for that fight?
Well, they haven't really.
Oh, they haven't, eh?
I don't think they announced it. I don't think they announced it yet. They announced that day. I think they announced that they're signing, but I don't know when it's going to be. But if they should do it on Fight Island, that'd be pretty cool for Zabit to do it because, it's somewhat close to, but he trains out in New York, so it's not really, I guess he's going to have to travel.
Well, look, as of now, it's supposed to be signed actually for August 29th.
Oh, there you go. So it's probably going to be Fight Island there. That'd be nice.
So it looks like it'll be Fight Island. I mean, somebody said that the last fight on Fight Island will be Miocic and Cormier, and I completely disagree. I think that will actually be on Fight Island till the rest of the year.
I think Fight Island, all the fights are going to be there until the rest of the year until they can figure this out. And I think that Vegas needs to, if they want fights to happen in Vegas again, they're going to have to, start accommodating them a bit. Yeah. I think Dana White's forcing their hand. So let's talk.
I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead. What I'm just interested in knowing is that whether the UFC and the W Hotel and I guess like Explore Abu Dhabi or whatever the tourist company that they're kind of helping them out with or whatever it is, how are they going to help with like the side attractions? Like they had the racetrack, they had this, they had that. Like, are they going to spice it up a little more? Like, I was just shocked to see that the fighters were able to drink brews.
Yeah, it's true. Fuck, they were able. I mean, I didn't know that they were able to. I don't know if they sold alcohol back then. Like
so Volkanovski and the boys after they won were drinking fucking beers, and because it was the morning. The guys were having like bacon, eggs, cereal, and beer, and then they fell asleep by 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Man, those guys probably had a great time. Winners or losers, probably had a great time after.
Yeah,
for sure. In my opinion, I just think that the UFC. What would be nice is that either obviously they sent up room service or some type of bottle service up to their hotel rooms, or they set up conference rooms. Where, they could kind of have a little post-fight celebration and do their thing and whatever it is. I think that would be nice. And another thing that would be nice is like, just getting the food right a little bit more, like not so that you have to have cornflakes after you just knock the guy out.
Yeah, we can maybe get a nice little steak.
A little McDonald's action or something.
Oh, why not? So let's get into the final fight, the one that I think everybody was excited about. Jorge Masvidal takes on Kamaru Usman on 6 days' notice for the welterweight championship, and we saw what everybody knew we were gonna see, kind of thing, is just Kamaru Usman just dominating for 5 rounds. Alex,
okay. Okay, Street Jesus, Journeyman, Game Bread, whatever his name is, Judas. I've heard so many nicknames.
Judas.
Yeah,
You can't be
that's what I
Street
heard.
Jesus and Judas.
I don't know. Some people were fucking calling him like that. I don't know. Anyways, I was kind of expecting that from Usman.
Of course.
His, I'm sorry to say it, but boring tactics. Okay. Um, Other than that, I think Usman dominated him in the ring. There was not much to say. Usman was doing the same thing for 5 rounds.
What I liked that Usman did is that he did a
He
lot
controlled.
of well he's just that's what he does. He's a much better version of Woodley. Adam and I had said that on his show a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
But the one thing I like what Usman did is that he didn't just push him to the fence the entire time. He wasn't able to do much on the fence too because Masvidal was able to get those underhooks, those leg stomps. You know, there was a lot of things that were happening, and Masvidal was just ready to go the entire time. But you could tell that he gassed out pretty quick. And to Adam's point before about cutting weight is that when you cut a weight, you get a floppy belly. Your abs aren't as strong, and so if you take a few shots or if you start getting gassed or the guy's putting weight on your stomach or on your ribs or something, it's going to start weighing on you. And especially if you deplete yourself of that much water, your shoulders get heavy really quick. So he wasn't able to keep his hands up, and he was getting tagged a lot. And Usman's boxing looked great, looked unreal against one of the best boxers in the UFC.
And you remember what I told you a couple of weeks ago? I did tell you Masvidal is an incredible fighter.
Yeah.
Okay. I just don't think he's championship level.
Well, I mean, we won't know if he's championship level until he gets a full camp against the champ. Because I feel like even though he lost the 5 rounds on a full camp, that might be a complete different story because he was still able to get Usman. He tagged him a few times. Usman just has a cinder block of a face.
Yeah, well, a couple things with Masvidal is that unfortunately his Muay Thai didn't seem to fare. The body kicks were one of the things that actually slowed down the fight because Usman was either catching them and then closing into clinch or then pushing him up against the cage. The thing that Masvidal struggled the most with was actually boxing against Usman.
Exactly.
And I think that had he been a lot sharper on the boxing, he would have been able to keep Usman at the end of his punches more, perhaps end with a lower base leg kick because Masvidal is pure Muay Thai in the sense that he doesn't throw those low calf kicks. He goes for the fucking ribs.
Yeah.
So, against Usman, who's a good Greco-Roman wrestler, he's going to grab hold of you and he's going to hold the clinch. Do I think that if Masvidal has a bigger camp, we do see a little bit of a different fight? Absolutely. However, my biggest issue with Jorge Masvidal, and I have to credit another guy on Twitter, Edwin Gallo, he pointed out a great point. Jorge Masvidal is black belt level jiu-jitsu. He has high-level wrestling. He could wrestle with all D1 wrestlers in a room and not look like a total square. He could go into a jiu-jitsu black belt, rolling session and not look like a total square. But the problem is that his defense is so strong and so conservative that in a fight with a time limit, with rounds, it's like, dude, you got to fucking move here. Like, you're good at nullifying, you're good at defending, you're good at slowing everything down here, but he's kind of getting to the point where minutes are going by and he's absorbing control and he's absorbing little pitter-patter ground and pound. And ultimately, that was one of the things that I found was a big time waster against Usman and even Damian Maia in the past. And I just think that had he had sharper boxing, I think we would have saw a different fight. But, like Alex said, is he a journeyman? No, I don't think so. I think that he has
14.
He's 35-14. Okay, yes, that could be a little bit of a journeyman record, but in my opinion, I think that he's 35-14 with about 4 to 5 asterisks next to it in terms of his split decision losses, etc. But another thing too is that nobody credits the fact that when he lost to Benson Henderson in Korea by split decision, how fucking dominant Benson Henderson was at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, he literally 10-8'd Nate Diaz 5 rounds in a row almost, not off of damage, but just pure control and just pure control in terms of the octagon and the strike. So just the fact of, seeing what Masvidal has done in the past up until now, and like I said earlier, this whole allure of Fight Island, maybe the fight doesn't even count anyways. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but
I think that he'll probably get the next title shot Like the second,
So did you see they did 1.3?
What do you mean?
They
Viewers?
did. Apparently, they did 1.3 million buys.
Guaranteed next title shot.
So the way I look at it is that you put the next one in line is probably Gilbert Burns. I don't know why they just don't do Masvidal versus Leon Edwards.
Because Leon Edwards, who's he fought? Like, who's his last fight?
Dude, I don't know what the allure is on Leon Edwards. Everyone's talking him up so big. I don't get it.
I don't know what the allure is on Gilbert Burns. I mean, I think that Gilbert Burns fought his best fight he can ever fight against Woodley. Is he going to be able to do that against Usman? I don't think so. I mean, he beat up a Woodley that just fights as if he has a lead, and he beat up a Woodley that seems like he doesn't care anymore. And to me, Burns wasn't the guy.
I agree.
The title shot. You know, I like Wonder Boy there instead. Leon Edwards. I mean, as good as he's been, we're not really sure. The book is kind of out on him. I think him versus maybe Wonder Boy would be nice, but I think Wonder Boy should be the next title shot. I mean, I feel like he should have been the champ when he lost to Woodley. I thought he beat him. So there's just all these things, and the welterweight division isn't what it used to be, and Usman's at the top. And for it to get a 1.3 million buys is legit 90% because of Masvidal, and that's why he's going to get the nice title.
That's a thousand.
The way I see it is the main reason why he got 1.3 million buys is because of the 3 title bouts. I don't see it as Masvidal.
Masvidal was a big piece to that. When Masvidal takes the fight,
but 3 title bouts, it doesn't come often.
Nobody really. I mean,
what do you mean? It comes all the time. 3 title fights. We've seen it so many times over the last 6 months.
They do it like they probably do it twice a year.
More than that.
Yeah. You see two title shots almost guaranteed on a big pay-per-view, guaranteed, and then you'll see either a title shot or a number 1 contender shot. You know?
Yeah, but normally see a women title bouts.
Still, I mean, there's still 3 title belts, but the only thing is that nobody's buying to watch Aldo versus Jan. I mean, as good as the fans like us will watch Jan versus Aldo because we know who they are, but a casual isn't going to buy to watch Jan versus Aldo. Nobody really knows who Volkanovski is. Holloway is more of a household name.
Absolutely.
Masvidal has become this huge thing. He's become Conor McGregor-esque to the point where with this BMF and him KOing Ben Askren the way he did, he's on the UFC cover, the game, the commercial. He's everywhere. This guy Masvidal is the main reason why. I'd say 90% of the buys were because Masvidal took it on short notice.
I agree. I would definitely say that at least 40 to 50% of the buys had to do with Masvidal coming in. If you're telling me that Gilbert Burns versus Kamaru Usman would have did even 800,000 buys, I say you're crazy. I would say that they would do maximum 500,000 buys. Gilbert Burns fighting
450 his last 450
exactly. Gilbert Burns fighing for the title is due to the fact that it's kind of the right thing to do, and the fact that there's also contractual issues as well. Now that they've made London a hub, I believe, to fly out of, Leon Edwards will be able to go to Fight Island. I don't really understand what the whole issue is. Masvidal has refused fighting Colby Covington next. I don't see Wonder Boy taking that fight against Masvidal next.
I forgot about Colby.
Colby and Leon Edwards should be at the next fight.
To fight each other?
They should, because I think the winner out of that fight should be the number 1 contender.
What about Wonder Boy?
I disagree. I'd like to see Leon Edwards fight Wonder Boy.
Yeah, Wonder Boy and Leon Edwards would be a great stand-up fight. I mean, it would be amazing to see what Leon Edwards can do versus a karate style fighter like Wonder Boy.
Yeah, Wonder Boy is he's a great talent. Like I said, fucking Dana White just does his own stuff.
He prints money. Dana White. He prints money.
Yeah,
he knows what
that's
to
what
do.
he does.
He knows what's going to sell. But like Adam said, there's the fan-friendly things that he has to do in order to get like the fighter-friendly ones. The Gilbert Burns, the championship fight. Okay, give me this fight and I'll give you a shot. You know, so he has to do that stuff. But for the most part, they know what fans like, and he could have easily just said, "I'm not going to cave to Masvidal," and he's like, "Fuck it, Masvidal. You get whatever you want if you give me this fight." And they renegotiated his contract, and now he's making whatever amount of money he's making. I wanted to ask Adam, what do you think his contract is now? You think he's up to $5 million?
Who, Masvidal?
Yeah, his new contract.
What do you mean 5 million?
5 million a fight.
No
With
way.
pay-per-view buys and stuff. No, like I'm talking about total, because I know there's like you could probably make like 250 or 500 a fight, like the number that they'll release tomorrow, whatever it is. But
Right.
when it comes to pay-per-view buys and stuff, what do you think he's gonna
So
get?
the number that Usman and Masvidal made was 600,000 to Usman and 500,000 to Masvidal. Usman got paid 40 extra thousand for his fight week salary, just cooperating with everything, doing the COVID, etc.
Yeah.
And then Masvidal an extra 30,000. So I don't really know how the whole pay-per-view point system works to be able to predict whether or not he's making 2.5 or 5 million or whatever it is. What I could say is that I do believe that Masvidal went for the pay-per-view points in terms of this and didn't really focus on his fixed rate and salary.
Well, if he's getting 500, that's a nice fixed rate.
Well, that's already a good fixed rate, but I also think that he bet on himself in the sense of building up a fan base and a fandom. Definitely the win over Nick Diaz and the flying knee victory over Ben Askren has completely skyrocketed him. That's why I'm not really going to be surprised if Jorge Masvidal is either going to get a top contender in Leon Edwards or Wonder Boy. Like you said, like he had said, he's not going to fight Colby Covington. I don't believe he's obviously not getting the rematch against Usman. I don't believe he'll fight Gilbert Burns. So it looks like we're going to get Leon Edwards or Stephen Thompson or Conor McGregor.
Bar. I mean, as much as I love Conor McGregor, I mean, I just think that it's like he's just waiting. So Cejudo's turned into Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor's just waiting for super fights now. He's just calling out everybody, waiting for somebody to take the bait. He can't fight unless it's an open crowd. I mean, Dana White said it for months now. He's been saying, I'm not going to put Conor on a card if I can't sell tickets, And to his point, I mean, he's a businessman first, right? So he has to do that. But he's also a promoter. Maybe you should get Conor McGregor to fight a guy like Masvidal. I mean, we would love to see Conor McGregor come back, but Conor McGregor has also lost a lot of his fighter credibility.
Big time.
We know what we did to Cerrone, and that's great.
A lot of credibility has been
didn't
lost.
Do before. Yeah, exactly.
A lot of credibility has been lost. A lot of talk. Too much talk. Too much chatter. I mean, you look at guys like Masvidal, Justin Gaethje. Who else am I missing here? Like
Dustin Poirier.
Like, dude, these guys have completely stole the show over the last few months.
He made a mistake by kind of taking a back seat because now he's seeing all these guys come up and they're making their own money. They're making their own names for themselves.
Yeah, now like you saw that he told Nate Diaz to shut the fuck up on Twitter, and it's kind of like, well, Nate Diaz is in a really good fucking spot right now because he could either sign a contract with Masvidal or with Conor McGregor.
And also Masvidal had said if he wins the belt, he said he would give a shot to Nate Diaz because of the whole
Yes,
thing.
exactly.
So that's like another thing. So we'll end it on that. We'll end it on this. Who do you think tomorrow night we have? Tomorrow night. I guess, yeah, tomorrow night. We're going to release this on Tuesday. Calvin Kattar versus Ige. Who do you think wins that fight?
I'm going with Calvin Kattar. I'm not counting out Danny Ige. I think that Ige is definitely going to bring the striking, is going to press forward with his striking against Calvin Kattar. Maybe not initially in the first round, but look for about the second or third round Dan Ige to kind of really try to open up and really try to land some hard shots on Calvin Kattar. I think he's going to nullify that with the grappling, and then look for Calvin Kattar to actually get a late finish in this fight. I'm calling it a late finish in the fourth or fifth round. If you're a betting guy, try to do the live betting in the later rounds or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with Calvin Kattar, TKO in the fourth or fifth round.
I like it. Alex, what do you think tomorrow?
Yeah, Kattar as well. I think he's a well-rounded fighter. Ige is to watch. I feel like that fight's gonna surprise us.
Yeah,
a lot. It could go both ways. Ige, like Adam said, can bring on the show in the later rounds. Ultimately, I see Kattar winning it.
I think Cater's gonna win too. I'm excited for you to
Yeah.
watch Ige fight. I think he was supposed to fight, but then the fight got canceled, right? Against
I think that Ige is a really good 3-round fighter. I don't
Yeah.
think that he's going to show up in the 4th and 5th round. I think that
Yeah.
Cater will probably look to utilize his wrestling more in the later rounds, just also maybe to slow his pace down and kind of recover as well and go back to that ground and pound. Where does Max Holloway go from here?
Max Holloway. I think he needs to fight.
Like, dude, imagine losing to
gatekeepers.
Alex Volkanovski and then they call you and they go, why don't you fight either Zabit, Yair Rodriguez, Calvin Cater? You're like, what the fuck? Like, a lot of, dude, these are high-level guys, man. You better be paying this guy. You better be paying him.
I think that Holloway needs to fight.
Dude, I'm thinking Holloway's going on the shelf for a little bit. I'm scared for that.
He should go on the shelf a little bit, I think, to recover a little bit. But I think that Ortega, if he wins one more fight, he'll get Holloway another chance at Holloway.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that. I see Holloway signing the dotted line for a rematch against Ortega or Yair Rodriguez. I don't see Holloway signing the dotted line against Zabit, and that's not a knock on Holloway. I'm just saying that I don't think their paths are going to line up unless it's for a title shot is what I'm really trying to say.
I agree, and I think the UFC is kind of avoiding getting Zabit to the title shot quickly.
You understand what's happening here, right, between Zabit and Yair Rodriguez?
No.
They're not going to, they're not going to take a guy like Ortega or a guy like Holloway who would sell the fight probably due to, being American and speaking English and whatever it is. So now they're kind of like completely killing the whole language barrier thing and they're just strictly making it about skill set. So they have to do realistically little to no marketing and they don't have to piggyback off of one fighter, which we've seen in the past. So that'll be interesting in terms of that. I think that I think after this, Yair Rodriguez is going to kind of fizzle out. I don't know. I think Zabit the next one in line to kind of get this shit going. I think that the only thing that will stop Zabit is himself making weight.
Oh, that's true. I think Yair would be a great Bellator champion. Just the way I see it.
Yeah. Yeah,
you know what
exactly.
I mean? Like, I see him. He's a great
dude.
fighter.
I don't know about that, man. The Bellator division at 145 pounds has a fuckload of
it does, but I think that Yair is
that's
what I'm saying. I think that Yair fits better over there than he does over here.
I'm going to challenge you on that. Yair Rodriguez belongs in one championship.
Oh, there you go. Even that's what I'm saying. Is like I just don't think that. I feel like he's always going to be like the 4th or 5th best.
Exactly. He belongs in one championship because he's got the look. He's got the flash, and he's predominantly a stand-up fighter. Like, dude, you think people wouldn't pay to watch Yair Rodriguez versus like a Petrosian or something like that? That'd be a fucking phenomenal fight.
Amazing, yeah, sick.
So I actually would think that Yair Rodriguez would show up in one championship. And just to note that one championship is going to do an event this month in Bangkok. Yeah. My buddy's actually Mark Abelardo is gonna fight Fabricio Andrade. He's 3-2. Mark is 19-7, I believe. Oh, wow. Look for Mark to TKO this guy.
Oh, nice. I'm gonna watch it. And last one, just quickly, your predictions. I know it's a month away, but we're gonna say Stipe and Cormier.
So the biggest thing that is stopping Daniel Cormier is kind of the same thing that's been stopping Max Holloway, and that is the failure to fight 5 perfect fucking rounds.
Yeah.
Okay, we saw it in John Jones versus Daniel Cormier. He was capable to win rounds against him, but obviously John Jones being the elite fighter, though, he wasn't able to win 5 rounds. And the same thing fared against Stipe, because in the second fight against Stipe, Daniel Cormier was pressing forward like he was against John Jones. And you see in those later rounds how it fared, and he got fucking KO'd. So that pressure and that style, Cormier is really going to have an A1 perfect fight to be able to keep that pace and that pressure up for the entire round. What's my prediction? I'm going with DC TKO, 3rd round.
Love it. Alex?
I go opposite. I go Stipe.
Of course you did.
Stipe knockout 4th rounds because Cormier's going to gas out, and Cormier retires for good.
You think Cormier retires on a loss? That'll never
happen. I think both fighters retire after this fight.
Even Stipe?
Yeah, I think Stipe is going to retire. I think, first of all, that you really saw over this pandemic and we've seen in the past how much he cares about his firefighting job. We've seen before, on UFC embeddeds and whatever it is, the piece of property that Stipe has. He's a private guy. He's got a nice piece of land, beautiful wife, family, blah, blah, blah. There's no other fights for him to do after Stipe Miocic. The only guy for him to fight afterwards is John Jones. Is Stipe Miocic going to wait around for an Anthony Johnson to knock him out? Are you fucking kidding me?
Why would he even take a fight against John Jones?
There's no reason to. Did you know I was watching on Twitter today and somebody said, good news, there's no heavyweight fights on Wednesday? Tell me, in what era have you ever heard somebody say that in your life about a heavyweight fight?
It's true. It's a good point. I mean, even in boxing, too, to be the heavyweight champ is like you're the baddest motherfucker in the world. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And now that we actually have a heavyweight division in boxing, where like maybe 4 years ago, it started coming back. But before that, there was that whole era, that Klitschko era, where it was so boring to watch. Nobody cared.
Klitschko dominated everyone, dude.
That's what I'm saying. It was boring.
Klitschko dominated everybody. But the best part about the best thing about the Klitschko era ending is that it ended off with a boring fucking fight
with Tyson Fury.
Beating him.
That was the first time I ever saw Tyson Fury.
With a boring fight.
That was the first time I ever saw Tyson Fury fight, and I'm watching.
Dude, my first time watching Tyson Fury was inside of a hotel room after going to New Jersey watching John Jones versus Chael Sonnen.
Wow.
We went back to the hotel room after, had a couple of drinks, and Tyson Fury was fighting Chris Arreola. He had hair at the time, Tyson Fury. It was unbelievable.
So I'm seeing him, and I'm like, who the hell is this guy, this long, awkward belly guy, piecing up Klitschko? And I was freaking out. And then ever since then, the rest is history, I guess. Adam, thanks for coming on, buddy. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, man, it was great. I mean, I'll always talk UFC. I'll always talk fighting with anybody. I know Alex wanted to get in on this too, so we appreciate you coming on, buddy. And tell everybody where to reach you.
For sure, man. Thanks a lot for having me on. This is going to be, something that we're going to get used to doing anyways. Viewers are going to get used to seeing us collaborating on the Unanimous Decision and Hot Sauce Sports. You can find me on Instagram at the Unanimous Decision MTL, on Twitter at Adam Caplan 13, and that's also my personal Instagram at Adam Caplan 13. Apple Podcasts and Spotify, the Unanimous Decision. We're about 7 episodes deep. The longest episode we have is with Terry, which is about 2 hours long.
Seven times longer.
I'm convinced that me and Terry could break a podcast world record, and we could break a podcast world record.
Let's do it, man. I'm
talking about MMA.
I'm so down.
I think that we could do it.
Jesus Christ.
Man. We'll talk about the old days. Actually, this week I'll tell you before the we'll end it. Is this week we always do our discussions on Hot Sauce, so we're making a graphic and we put the best fighters of the 2000 era. So Alex, who did we have? We had Hughes,
GSP,
Hughes, GSP, Silva, and Fedor.
Fedor, yeah.
So out of those 4, who's your favorite fighter out of those 4?
Hughes, GSP,
Silva, and Fedor.
Okay, well, no, for sure. It's for sure for me. It would have to be George St. Pierre, undoubtedly. I would definitely agree with those 4. It's just crazy. What's crazy is that there's a lot of different guys that you could also throw in there in that era, especially around the Matt Hughes time. You could throw in BJ Penn, you could throw a little Chuck Liddell, a little Randy
Rich Franklin,
a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Yeah, Rich Franklin was cool too, but the thing is that Anderson Silva unfortunately drowned out all middleweights of that era. So unfortunately, any middleweight out of that era besides Anderson Silva won't really fare too much. Another guy that should, who should be mentioned is Forrest Griffin. I was going to say Rampage Jackson.
Oh, Rampage. Yeah, Rampage is a good one too.
I was going to say Rampage. One thing that always made me happy about that Ultimate Fighter series is that we saw another side of Rashad Evans. I think a lot of fans kind of felt, I feel that fans look at Kamaru Usman now the way fans used to look at Rashad Evans then. And that's why.
It's his mentor.
And that's why I think guys used to be high on the Rampage Jackson a la Jorge Masvidal. And I think that in time, fans are actually going to get to know Usman and they're going to like him.
Yeah, I agree.
And the last thing I'll say is I'm talking my fucking ass off is that Usman, being also from Nigerian descent, is working at a very good advantage because the most marketable fighter in the UFC right now is Israel Adesanya, and that's a great guy to be linked with.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So again, Unanimous Decision, you can find him there. This episode is going to show up on July 14th. Hot Sauce Sports, all on Apple, Spotify, YouTube.
So this will be audio also?
It'll be audio as well, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So that'll be up. We'll clip it up a bit too, and we'll share it out. Thanks for coming on again, Adam. I really appreciate it. Alex, thanks for coming on, and I'll probably talk to you in about 15 minutes.
All right.
Thanks a lot, guys. It was a pleasure being on, and I'm looking forward to the next one. Peace.
Perfect. Thanks, buddy.
It was a pleasure, Adam.
Likewise, bro.